Linebacker Nick Perry was the Packers' first-round draft pick of 2012. A Detroit native, he eschewed Michigan and Michigan State for USC, where he played for the legendary coach Pete Carroll.
It was a transition period from coaches that was in Michigan at that time. But the big standout at that time was Pete Carroll. They were doing great things in California. They took a liking to what I had to offer, and that was kind of the start of it. He flew the whole staff out, and from there we just clicked. It just felt like a family. You know, I decided to step out of my comfort zone and take that chance and go all the way to the West Coast.
So you played defensive line in college, right, for the most part?
Yep, I played defensive end.
And then you transitioned in the pros to outside linebacker. How difficult was that?
I would say it was very difficult, just because my skill set was hand in the dirt. You know, you really don't get to focus on being a coverage guy, and that part of the game wasn't natural to me. From there, you know, I had to adjust.
Sure.
Huge, just learning how to stand up, because we played a 3-4. So I was still out there on the edge, in my transition to the NFL. So it was a little bit more difficult, but as I became more comfortable understanding concepts, things started to warm up.
Was Kevin Green still here when you got here?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
Yeah, great coach. Rest in peace. He was a big part on getting me to understand and really drill in the things that I needed to know to be successful.
At Southern Cal, Nick played with Clay Matthews, who preceded him to Green Bay.
My first year coming in was his last year on his way out. So we definitely had some times there. But I was just a little guy learning the ropes at SC. So, but he's been a huge help to my development as I continued on.
Nick, someone mentioned to me today that they can remember you playing with a club on your hand a lot in your career, and playing pretty well with a club on your hand. Talk about that overcoming injury.
Man, that was a huge thing. The club, like those memories stick out to me the most. Being able to play through all that pain and it really adjusted how I played out there on the field. And so, playing with one hand is pretty tough in the league. But I was able to make it my own and create, a little identity of that, because I still remember, all the times going in there with that club.
You had a season when you had 11 sacks, and you seemed to be taking off from there. It was, I guess, you were coming up on a contract year. That appeared to be right where you were at your best. Talk about that. That
was at a point where things was, we were starting to get into a rhythm. I got really comfortable in the position that I was in, just the schemes, everything started to become more natural, and I just took it to a whole nother level.
You played in some big games. Some that went your way, some that didn't. The one that comes to mind is the 2014 Packers team. How you guys, remember Clay moved inside, and all of a sudden you guys defensively started to hit stride, won a big game against New England in the regular season, beat Dallas in a playoff game in Lambeau Field. That must have been incredible, that ball game. You had, I believe, a sack and a half in that game.
Yep. Those were huge games, and at that time we was clicking like no other. And just being able to put together all of those pieces, we had a lot of talent, and we all wanted to get to the backfield. And I think from there, we started to put together other pieces to try to mix our defense up and get the best players on the field to disrupt the quarterbacks and wreak havoc.
Well, you had Julius Peppers, the great Julius Peppers, on that team. Wow, what was it like playing with those guys?
It was amazing. Pep came with huge wisdom. He was always quiet and reserved, but when he spoke, we all listened and we learned. But just being around him and his professionalism towards the game was bar none, and we all played with that. He was a great player.
Nick, it's interesting that teams 40 years ago, teams used to come into training camp, and if they were Super Bowl caliber, chances are they're going to be Super Bowl caliber at the end of the season, barring major injuries. But it seems like in today's game, teams evolve. they go from a certain position, either they get better or they get worse. But teams are not Super Bowl caliber in September. The Super Bowl caliber teams evolve into December and January. That was your 2014 team, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It wasn't how we started. I think it wasn't a great start for us, but
Lost that game in Seattle on a Thursday night to open the season. They were defending champs.
That was a huge one. And we progressed. We hit our lumps early. We got hit with injuries, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And we always talk about that December. Being able to win games in December is much tougher. Moving forth into the playoffs, and those are the games you really want to win to put yourself in good positions to make a run.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that, isn't it? I mean, it either comes together or it doesn't, and I don't know if there's anything players or coaches can do to make that happen. Teams come together. You guys are coming together. You went to Seattle, played the defending champs, and had them beat for like 53 minutes. What do you take from the 2014 NFC Championship game?
Man. That one sticks out to me the most. That one hurts the most. Considering that the team that we put together and we was playing our best football. We came there, all about business, and we took care of business for the most part. Just to see it go away and wither away was a tough one to swallow. But we had a great team. To take us there, and it's really unfortunate that things unfolded the way they did. And I always look back at that game knowing that, we had it and we just didn't close it.
Isn't it amazing how, with the great athletes like you and the people in professional sports, you guys, the wins are wonderful, but the losses never go away, do they?
No, they hurt the worst. I mean, it's just one of those things. We love to win, but we hate to lose even more. And, you get so close to those kind of games that really, those are the games that mean the most.
Right.
And, they stick out like a sore thumb. It's just one of those things. We always learn things from those moments, but we wish we don't go through those moments.
Nick's career day came in the playoffs following the 2015 campaign. He registered 2.5 sacks against All-Pro tackle Trent Williams in a postseason win at Washington.
Went against Trent all game. That was a huge game. I was able to put together some, it's a chess game out there. Yeah. That was a game that I was hungry. I was ready to go. I studied my opponent. I knew it was a tough matchup, and I played the best of my ability, and I had a great game that day.
The following season, Perry recorded a team-leading career-best 11 sacks, earning a new contract from the Packers. But injuries took their toll and eventually cut his career short. And when he was right, Nick Perry was a force for the Packers.